Now that is not going anywhere. On the build show today, I'm all harnessed up. I'm up on the roof with a couple great solar installs, and we're gonna talk about two things that go really good together. You know, peanut butter and chocolate, peanut butter and banana, they're just made for each other. Well, solar and metal are exactly the same. In the build show today, we're gonna be running down a metal roof with a solar install, a couple tips and tricks, a couple things I really like about this combo. So if you're building, this is definitely a combo I like. Today's build show is sponsored by the Metal Roofing Alliance. Let's get going. Okay, y'all, we're up on a roof in San Antonio, just a little south of me in Austin. We got a big solar array going on, a metal project over here, a metal building. And this is a really interesting example. I think we're gonna jump into the details. If you're building or remodeling, I'm gonna show you some things that I really like about this combo of solar and metal. I really think this is a bomber combo. I've got Nathan over here on solars. We're gonna let them get this panel and then we're gonna grab them aside. But a couple things I wanna mention first that I really like about metal and solar when it comes to this install. No penetrations. That's gotta be the number one reason in my mind that I like metal and solar combinations. You're gonna see these clips that we're using are actually clamping onto the side of the standing seam metal roof. This is a 24 gauge Galvalume roof that's been PVDF finished in this white finish, which by the way is a terrific color for the Texas heat. And these clamps are particularly unique, and one thing that I really like is that there's no penetration, there's no goop, there's nothing that's gonna have to be sealed and weatherproof. We're basically leaving a weather-tight roof in place and bolting everything, clamping everything onto it. Not bolting, I don't wanna say that, that's not entirely true. It's really a clamp that's going on here. Talk to me about these clips. Will you actually show me one? I think I've got one at your feet right here, which has not been clamped yet. These are from S5, right?
Yeah, the main block here below is a S5 clamp.
Okay.
And the L-foot and the attachment point is for iron ridge.
Gotcha. And so what we're looking at here is an aluminum body right here. And then this piece of hardware that I think is like a T30 bit is, you'll notice as I look on here, rounded, so it's not gonna penetrate that metal. It's just clamping on. And I think you told me, John Luis, that we're not clamping it so hard that it's penetrating that coating, right?
Correct.
When you tighten that, you're actually using a torque bit to make sure that you're not over tightening that, is that right?
Correct. So we use a torque wrench based on a gaugeable material that the manufacturer has specified in the data sheet. So we don't penetrate the metal, but we need enough strength to provide the pull out for the wind load.
Got it. Okay, so this goes on first, and then this piece is clamping to that with a set of two holes that's on that hardware that you can put it in. Correct. And then you've got some adjustment ability.
I can have an adjustment and also this L-feed can work on both sides. Mm-hmm. So I can create a system that is closer to the roof or a little taller compared to the roof.
Okay, gotcha.
So we have a more gap and more air ventilation if we have it under the panel.
Got it, and then also probably room for wiring. Yes. And then this screw actually comes with this piece of hardware too, right? And this is metal. What's up with the weird shape on the end here? What's that doing?
This is called a T-bolt and is making this way, so we don't have to slide the V's directly into the railing, and I can show you a sample.
Yeah, let's do it.
So this is also is an iron ridge product. So the T-bolt can easily slide into the groove of the railing.
So that's sliding in right there.
Yeah.
And then when that T rotates.
Whenever I tight, the T get in place and has a teeth inside. So penetrate the anodizing aluminum of the railing and create a bonding points for grounding.
That's pretty cool. That's very cool. And then you'll notice those are on a particular spacing pattern so that these panels are just bolting down really pretty straightforward with this screw. You saw Nathan putting these screws in just a minute ago. And each panel is held in place with 4 with a giant washer head on top. And Gianluca, what size panels are these in terms of power output that I'm seeing here?
So these are Canadian Solar 395 watts each. The size of a panel is a 45 inch by 68 inch.
Okay. And by the time you get this big roof done, what are we up to here for total output?
So this system is 17 kilowatt, 17.32 kilowatt.
Got it. So 44 panels, I think you told me earlier, and we're up to 17,380 watts total.
Correct.
395 per panel. That's pretty amazing. That's a lot. Now talk to me about hail resistance on these panels, and let's talk about hail resistance of the total assembly. Do these panels have a rating on hail?
So this panel has a rating. They can use a tempered glass on top, so they are able to resist 1.25 inches in diameter of hail.
Wow.
Traveling at 56 meters per second.
That's pretty serious.
And so they are pretty resistant. The entire system has been, we work a lot on coastline of Texas, so we are under windstorm requirement. So we design this system to be, minimum code requirement is 150, but based on my calculation, it should be easy 180, 200 miles per hour.
Wow, 180. That's pretty wild. Now, another thing to remember on this too is the metal roof assembly below our feet here also needs to be installed in a way that's going to meet those same wind requirements. So you need to be checking with your installer, with your manufacturer, with the engineer to make sure the entire assembly is rated for that, right? And when it comes to hail resistance, this roof's a 24 gauge, which is really one of the thicker gauges that you can work with on a roll former. I have done a 22 gauge roof before, but it wasn't a roll formed panel. It was more like an R panel. And in my experience in Austin, I've been building here for almost 20 years now. My houses have gone through a lot of hailstorms, and I have yet to see anybody replace a roof. We did have a hailstorm a couple years ago that was like softball size in a house that I built at the time with like a 612 pitch, something like that. You could see some minor denting on the roof, but you had to be really thoughtful to look for it in the right light. So in my estimation, in my mind, a metal roof, especially a 24 gauge roof, is a very incredibly hail resistant roof. But you do want to remember that when we're on a low pitch like this, do you know what this is, Gianluca, for pitch?
This is about between a 2 and 312.
Yeah, so this is a pretty low pitch roof. When those panels are flatter, when the metal's flatter, you've got more direct impact. Whereas if, let's say I had a 12-12 pitch, a 45-degree angle on that roof, you've got those glancing blows, and it's harder for that energy to transfer and dent that metal or cause a problem on your panel. So, if you're designing a brand new house, I do like to see a greater pitch than this 212, which is probably the minimum that you want to see for a standing seam metal. And this is probably a double lock rather than a snap lock roof too, which is going to be more resistant to water penetration on that low pitch. Talk to me about how many clamps you've needed on this job and how many panels total you guys have installed here.
Yeah, so this particular application, we double and triple the clamp on the seam on the edge of the roof, where the wind is more strong and pick it up.
Yeah, makes sense.
But for this application, we use about 110, 115 attachment point.
Okay.
We use a 44 Canadian solar panel. And each clamp we use, each panel is clamped with in 4 points, and we follow, of course, the manufacturer specification of where located array based on the sides of the panel.
Gotcha.
To maximize the strength for wind impact.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think we're losing real estate up here. Nathan's about to drop in these last couple panels. How about we take the harness off, we'll meet you on the ground, and we're gonna show you where we connect these panels up. Oh man, Gianluca, that's pretty serious. That ain't going anywhere. So this is the same clamp system, right?
Same clamp.
But you've just switched to Unistrut, and this is where the power from the solar is coming to?
Yeah. So this is because this system is going to be direct current, by code I need to fuse each string. So this box is gonna have a string, a fuse to protect the string.
Gotcha.
And from here we're gonna go basically underground to the point where we have our inverter control of power coming from the sun, distributable AC power to the load.
Gotcha.
And the battery backup.
Yeah, this is a little bit of an unusual job here. We're at a off-grid ranch project. This is my buddy Andrew's house. We were actually here about a year ago. I'll link to that video below so you can kind of see that. But it's a bit of an interesting project. Andrew does a lot of off-grid stuff, and so he's got some really interesting stuff here at this total off-grid ranch. But I wanted to ask you, compared to a typical asphalt roof, which I suspect is most solar installs, right? This one is going to go through a hailstorm, a windstorm, and be no problem. On the other hand, if we were to do asphalt, what happens if an asphalt roof gets hail damage that has your solar array on it?
So if you get damage for any reason, of course, we're going to have to remove the solar panel and leave the roof ready for the roofer to replace the shingle. And after we had to go back and reinstall the solar panel. So is really become expensive. On a metal roof, really never happened in my business life.
Yeah, you've been in business since 2008. I've been building houses since 2005. I've not once, in all the massive hail we've had in Texas, lost a roof or a solar install. On the other hand, in my neighborhood, there's roofs going on all over right now because we had a minor hailstorm just recently and all those asphalt shingles were getting replaced. So if you're thinking that hail is an issue in your area, metal is definitely the way to go. The other thing I really like about metal too is if you think about the end of the service life on this metal facade, this is gonna be a long time, right? This is at least 50 plus years, if not 75. I can think of 100-year-old metal roofs on Texas buildings. They're still functional, they just are rusty at 100 years old, but they're not leaking. When this gets removed, it's valuable. And so there's an incentive for that roofer, for that remodeler, for that builder to not just recycle it, but actually get paid for that metal. Whereas asphalt, I know a lot of it ends up in the dumpster in the landfill, and certainly it can be recycled, but I don't know that that's happening all the time. So there's another big benefit to metal, is that long service life and recyclability.
Yeah, and the other good benefit is that a metal roof is reflective, so the infrared component of the lights get more likely reflected and not absorb compared to the shingle that absorb the heat and release during the night inside the house.
Yeah, and the other thing too is actually your solar panels up there, when they're hot, have a less output, correct? So if you've got a hot black shingle underneath causing that to be hot, you might actually lose as much as 10% of the efficiency, is that right?
Yeah, it's correct, because the panel loses voltage higher the temperature is.
Yeah. Let's talk about maintenance for a minute. Gianluca, I've always liked solar because it's really a solid state product. Once you guys are done here, there's no maintenance, there's no moving gears or parts, there's nothing that needs oiled, or you don't have to change the oil every 6 months on this. Yeah. It's kind of a set it and forget it. How long do you expect these panels to be working on this house?
So the panel itself, they can work more than 30 years. In fact, almost every single manufacturer offers a 25 or 30 years power warranty. So the panel does, and in the end of the 25 or 30 years, they still have 80–85% of efficiency from day one.
Okay.
So the panel itself, they can last really 50–60 years.
But they do lose some efficiency over time, right? The kind of general rule I've heard is something like 0.5% in efficiency loss annually. So as the years go by, after 20 years, you're going to be at 90% output. But as long as things don't happen, I suspect we should be able to get 30 plus years out of this array. And with this metal here, we could literally unclamp those panels and put a new panel down in 30 years. And I can only imagine what the technology is going to be like in 30 years. But this technology that's so old is still going to be going. That's one of the things I really like about metal. Let's talk about maintenance real quick. What do we need to do to make sure those panels are still giving their maximum output? Because they're going to get dirty, right?
They can be dirty, mostly, in some areas, South Texas, or in the spring there is pollen, there is a bird drop. So in case that happen, the best thing, of course, is to wash the panel. We just water and a squeegee or water and a brush.
Yeah.
Be careful at the temperature. If it's very hot, we cannot use cold water, of course, so let's have water
point.
to warm up so there is no thermal shock on the panel. But
Great
really is all the hardware we use is aluminum and stainless steel, so there is really no maintenance need to be done, no moving parts, and that is the beauty compare, you know, wind technology or other technology that has moving parts.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's get back on the roof and finish up the video. Big thanks to Gianluca and Nathan and the rest of the crew from Solar Power Integrators. I'll put a link to these guys in the description below. They're working all over South Texas and, in fact, a lot of Texas. They were just in West Texas doing a job too. Big thanks to MRA for sponsoring today's video. I love talking about metal. I've been in business since 2005. Almost every house I've put a metal roof on that I've built here in Austin since 2005. So big thanks to those guys for sponsoring. Guys, if you're not currently a subscriber, hit that subscribe button below. We've got new content here every Tuesday and every Friday. Follow me on Facebook or Instagram. Otherwise, we'll see you next time on The Build Show.